Sky Bet League 2 in the spotlight now, and I'd say it absolutely stood up to the fact that it was very much the kind of billboard league in England's top 4 tiers. Some big ticket fixtures, some big results, and a bit of a shake-up down the bottom as well. Let's start towards the top, though, George, where Bristol Rovers, who'd been on a good run, hosted MK Dons, and it was 4-0 to the visitors.
Yeah, MK are starting to show their quality. We said in our pre-season 124s, we thought maybe MK would start a bit slowly, and then it would take some time for Paul Warren to kind of galvanise this group together, and that's exactly what seems to have happened. Having said that, I think this is a game where the 4 goals that Bristol Rovers conceded have to be amongst the 4 most shambolic goals I think I've ever seen in my whole life.
That's what we were saying about them at the start of the season as well.
But like, just
Thought they'd
ridiculous
fixed that.
from an individual perspective. Like
Yeah.
the first is an own goal, Gilby down the left-hand side. It's all very easy. Actually, a beautiful pass played into him by Liam Kelly. And the cross comes in and it's diverted into his own goal by Alfie Kilgore. Not a great deal happens between then and the kind of 83rd minute. One decent chance for Ellis Harrison late in the first half where he headed kind of straight at the keeper. But with 10 or so minutes to go, MK go 2-0 up thanks to a goal that's been credited to Lawrence Maguire. But it's a free kick that swung in from the right-hand side, and it doesn't beat the first man, but the first man, rather than heading it away, it's almost like a flick-on header towards the far post. And Maguire jumps and he claims it, but I'm pretty sure it just goes over his head and just goes into the far corner. Like I think it looks to me, I mean, it might have like rolled off a hair.
Yeah.
But to all intents and purposes, it's kind of 2 own goals. The third goal, do you remember when, like, back in the day playing football, where you did that drill where like a coach would just pass it into you on the edge of the area and you'd turn and shoot?
Yep.
And it was like, I mean, this is great, but like, when does this ever happen in games? It's exactly what, it's a free kick.
Yeah.
They're all lined up. You know, Kelly's got the ball 30 yards out. They're all lined up at the edge of the area. Gilby's just standing in the middle of the box and Kelly just fires it into his feet, and unchallenged, he just turns around and slots into the far corner.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. If you're Darryl Clark, you're thinking, how's that happened? And then the fourth goal, I took a freeze frame and I thought to send it to you. Obviously, you know, you're 3-0 down at home. You're probably going to commit men forward. But MK Dons break down the right-hand side, and they don't have a defensive line.
Yeah.
So therefore, Russian Hepburn Murphy, all he has to do to stay on side is just basically stay in line with the player that's closing down. I can't remember who got the assist down the right-hand side. Which it was Lecco down the right, which he does, and Lecco can just has the whole like box to aim at to pass into his path. He does so, and he puts it away to score the 4th goal. Like, just all 4 goals just were kind of stand out on a normal weekend in terms of calamity. And you know, maybe from Gass's perspective, get it all out of your system in one game, because they're not this bad. They've been so impressive in the last few weeks, and you know, I'm sure Darryl Clark will put it all right. But yeah, just particularly that last 10 minutes was horrendous. I think MK will, you know, it's obviously a continuation of a very good run of form. But, you know, it was effectively 4 gifts.
Yeah, they're up to 4th now, 3 wins in a row. Colchester beat Grimsby 2-1 at Blundell Park. Not many teams will do that, have done that recently. And Grimsby went ahead in this game. Kieran Zinedine Green. Near post flick from a corner, very much reminiscent of Zizou 1998 World Cup final. Corner from the left, thumping header from the talisman. 1-0 Grimsby. But Colchester
Bite back.
That performance, the 6-2 win against Chesterfield, something's clicked, something's happened. Maybe Mbic has clicked, because the youngster on loan from Charlton scored the equaliser here, one of the great goalmouth scrambles. I think Colchester had 5 shots in 4 seconds, of which Mbic's was the 5th and the successful kick into the net. Then the winning goal in the second half, controversial this, ball forward from Araujo, Mbic tries to control it sort of around his waist, and Tyrell Warren has bent down to try and head the ball away. Now, does Mbic kick Warren in the face? It's pretty hard to tell what's ball, what's foot, what's head, and most importantly, what's in contact with what. So I don't really know is the answer, but I'm fairly confident that if Warren had screamed and clutched his head, play would have been stopped. and Mbick wouldn't have been able to run clear and make the most of Christy Pym getting a bit overexcited by it all and sprinting out for no real reason. Mbick lobbed him very, very cutely, to be fair. I think that's an underrated finish from a young striker, both in terms of the composure, but also the technical ability to lift it, a bouncing ball, and judge it perfectly to drop in. But I think that probably, if Warren was a more experienced, grizzled centre-back, he would have known how to have avoided that, whether he got kicked in the head or not. It's hard to say. The boot is high, the head is low. What do you do with that? Anyway, Mbick, 3 goals, 1 assist in his last 4 league games. I repeat, he is 18 years old. This is unusual for someone of this age, playing number 9 up top in League 2. Not an easy division, but he looks really, really good. Obviously, Daniel Kanu was interviewed on this very pod feed over the weekend after he won the EFL's Young Player of the Month award on loan at Walsall from Charlton Athletic. And I asked him about Mbick and Leaburn and Campbell and what they call Sparrow's Lab in terms of producing quality. And at the moment, particularly quality attacking players. Mbick looks very, very exciting. Grimsby put a bit of pressure on. Soonsup Bell hit the bar at the back post. It probably should have been a draw, this one, but huge
chance that.
Huge for Colchester. They had 1 win in their first 10 league games with 5 draws and a kind of mixed bag of performances. And then they've rattled off 2 massive wins against, promotion candidates in Chesterfield and Grimsby. So kudos to them. It looks like the Cowley brothers have found something that works at the top of the pitch, and Payne and Lisby and Mbick have really stood out in that time. Chesterfield bounced back actually with a 2-0 win against Salford, George.
Yeah, they did. Salford's 3rd consecutive defeat. What we say about Salford and Carl Robinson, like this, it's mad how it happens after such a good run of wins.
Ceilings and floors, high ones and low ones.
Yeah, exactly. But Chesterfield were pretty good value for this. They took the lead through an Ollie Turton own goal, and then a magnificent save from the Chesterfield wall of flesh, Zachary Hemming.
Well done.
Thank you. A nod there to anyone who was at Football Clichés Live last night, which is probably about 4 people. It's had Daniel Ludo, who you put up on the betting show, Street Clear, and did everything right. Hammered it at the near post, arrowing towards the bottom left-hand corner. And Hemming somehow made a brilliant save to parry the ball onto the post and away. And that probably would have changed the game, but instead it was Roland Darcy who scored a nice finish, a nice work move late on in the game to make it 2-0. So, frustration for Salford, who, as I say, are undergoing a bit of a difficult spell after such a good start. But for Chesterfield, really important for them to bounce back after the 6-2 defeat, and they did so.
Being able to bring Ronan Darcy on, Mr. Darcy, what a privilege. Crewe 0, Bromley 1. This is Bromley's first win in 6 weeks, and I think they earned it.
Did someone call it?
I think I heard something on the betting show.
Yes.
No, I think I edited that bit out. Sorry.
A whole bit.
Yeah. I thought it was too good and too funny.
If you did that would be really sad.
That's what I've been doctoring you for years, as discussed. A good away display from Bromley here. Crewe with a couple of early chances. Connor Thomas arriving late to head wide. Lancaster at the back post had a good chance, and I note that it's massive for Crewe, I think, to have him back. His goals and assist record last season in another injury disrupted season was really impressive, and he looked really good in their televised win against Harrogate last Monday as well. But after that, I thought Bromley managed the game pretty well, and they tested Crewe with a lot of long passes, and they got their reward. Omar Shomi going up for a header with Demetriou. It flicked off Shomi and then off Demetriou and just sort of flew into the path of Michael Cheek, who did what he does. Bromley 1-0 with Michael Cheek scoring. I thought to myself, wonder how many times that's happened. He's played 282 games for Bromley, Michael Cheek. He has scored 124 goals. Wow. How many of those have been the solitary goal in a 1-0 Bromley win?
22.
Only 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad guess. Bad guess.
Yeah, I think I reverse psychology do that. Yeah. Well, I was expecting it to be more than that. But actually, that is basically 3% of all matches that he's played for Bromley. Bromley. He's won 1-0.
Bromley.
Which is quite fun. So now we have, with these two teams, quite an interesting one where there's a point between these two now. Crewe, very different ways of getting there, right? Crewe with the real high variability in their performances and their results. 6 wins, but 5 losses. Bromley, the opposite, the low margin team who've drawn half of their league games and haven't been able to convert the tight ones into wins. They should be in a healthier position, really, Bromley. When you remember that Gillingham game where McCleary won the late penalty for a 2-2 draw and was subsequently banned for diving, when you consider that last weekend they threw away a 3-1 lead against Tranmere at home, I think we're still keeping an eye on Bromley for sure. And I think that this was a quiet sign that they are, still able to be incredibly competitive and often better than that in pretty much every game. Massive game down at the bottom was Accrington against Newport. Newport, who have barely seen a point for a number of months, but who took a lot of fans to Cardiff in the trophy in midweek for their first game against Cardiff in many a year and saw them eke out a narrow win, carried it up to Accrington and did it again, 1-0.
Yeah, it's funny with Newport because pre-season favourites for relegation start the season really poorly, and I think it's just been an assumption they're terrible, but they're rarely well beaten. Like they were beaten 4-1 away from home against Chesterfield, and they're beaten 3-1 against Gillingham. But apart from that, I think every other result, every other league defeat has been by a solitary goal. And they lost 2-0 to Cambridge, but it's been pretty marginal. And I alluded in the League One section to there being another team who. I'm not saying that Newport are good, but if you're consistently in games and you're losing them, eventually things are going to turn. And I think this was the example of that. Like they went close in the first half before the goal, hitting the woodwork. And then Isaac Sinclair diverted into his own net in a weekend where we saw loads of own goals across the two leagues to make it 1-0. And I think the most impressive thing for me and for Dave Hughes, their manager, will be that this is a team who haven't won many games, as you say. They haven't spent much time ahead in games either. They've squandered a few leads when they have been ahead. Certainly against MK Dons, they were ahead, weren't they? And they lost that one, missing a penalty. They missed penalties at key times too. They were ahead against Gillingham and lost that game, 3-1. But they saw this out pretty well. They were relatively untroubled. Isaac Heath had a decent opportunity where he did really well down the left-hand side, cut in and then completely made a mess of his shot. But for the most part, and I think they're not the Newport County keeper right tip one over the bar again from distance. But Accrington, an Accrington side who recently have been a decent attacking threat even in games where they've lost, really struggled to even despite being at home, find a way to fight back into the game.
They lost 1-0 at Cheltenham. They've lost 1-0 here. Yeah. They drew 0-0 with Shrews. That's the bottom three.
Yeah,
like those are. If Aki want to be anything other than relegation battlers, they've got to do better in these games.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the frustrating thing for them is that you go back to the middle of September and they beat Colchester and MK Dons back to back. But 3 league defeats since then, albeit against decent sides in Barnet and Walsall, but this one in particular will be really frustrating. So yeah, good for Newport. I definitely don't think that Newport are the whipping boys of League Two as they're perceived to be. I think if Hughes does keep them up, he's done a good job. But there have been signs all season that they're not necessarily that bad.
Yeah, Bobby Camworth was their star last season, their star attacking player anyway, and it's consensus that he's had a quieter start to this season. The chopping and changing of system hasn't really helped him. Now they're in a system where wide players are important in attack, and Camworth should be thriving. I mean, it's worth pointing out that on the Opta Analyst site, if you go on chance creation in League Two, per 90, open play, expected assists, there is Bobby Camworth only behind Crawley's Dion Pereira in terms of how much he's creating from open play in a team that don't have a lot of the ball in the final third. So Camworth still pretty much holding up his end of the bargain, I think. And I've seen a lot of love for Sammy Braybrook on loan from Leicester at Newport from Newport County fans. One of those like, how have we got him on loan? Like, why has he come to us? It's always a good sign that. Shrews, big win. First home win of the season against Cambridge United. And, well, look, no getting away from it. The game had almost nothing to it. And then Corey Smith sold the centre-back short with a little setback. George Lloyd. One thing you can always say about George Lloyd is that he works unbelievably hard.
He works hard.
Work rate basically got him a goal here. It was Shrewsbury's first shot of the game, nipped in front and finished through the goalkeeper's legs, 1v1 to put Shrews ahead. Their second shot of the game came later on in the second half. It was a big Boyle header from a set piece, and it went in. Shrewsbury were 2-0 up, having had 2 shots. Cambridge having had a bit of a shocker and couldn't respond. Shrews, the most impressive thing, I guess, for me is that from 2-0 up, this wobbly team that haven't won many games and not very many at home either over the last couple of years, they did see it out with relative comfort. There's always that thing of like, is this the springboard for Shrews? Is this something to build on? Does this give cause for optimism? And it might be annoying to say, but I don't see this win as the sign of something to come for Shrews. Like, I think basically Cambridge lost this game as much as Shrewsbury won it. And I think that was basically the case for their other win that came against Barnet early in the season. Those are the only 2 games they've actually won. So from my point of view, I'm looking at Crawley at home on Saturday. And I would love to see another home win with an even more convincing display than Shrews showed here. And then I will start getting a little more excited. Tranmere 0, Barnet 2. Oh, this Barnet juggernaut is starting to jugger.
Yeah. They're good. They've got there. It took them a while to settle in this season. Our optimism about them looked misplaced, but right now they're looking like a really strong side at both ends of the pitch. They beat Tranmere relatively comfortably with 2 well-taken first-half goals, the first from Unlove and the second from Senior. They saw out the game really well in the second half. It was interesting. I basically can't stop watching Dean Brennan's post-match interviews. I don't know what it is. I find him...
It feels like you've really got that off your chest. Guys, can I be open with you? I can't stop watching Dean Brennan's post-match interviews.
I watch him every week.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
What do you like about him?
The Irish lilt, the honesty. I don't know. He's an interesting talker, and he also does weird stuff. Like, he whipped out his rosary beads during the one, saying, I mean, it was bizarre.
He was buzzing after this, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was absolutely buzzing.
He had some lovely words to say about the fans.
Understandably so, but it was about Tavares, their centre back, who's had injury issues. And he basically said that he took his rosary beads into the fitness test with him to pray that he was going to be able to play, and that he then kept them in his pocket during the game, and he always has them on him. Like, he's a character, but he's also seemingly quite a good football manager. And there's some fun stuff like Unlove was put through 1-on-1, and Stead, the number 10, put his arms outstretched celebrating genuinely before he even kicked the ball. Yeah.
Not known for his finishing either.
No. So they
confidence. They're confident in each other.
It feels like they're kind of buzzing at the moment.
That was a nice pass forward from Hartigan, wasn't
really
it?
Nice.
One of those. It's like it's not a highly difficult pass, but I just loved the intent behind
it.
And
he's good, Hartigan. Like, his set piece delivery is good as well. He's the one pulling the strings in the middle with Offerball alongside him. But so Barnet good, Tranmere just
whoa.
What is going on there?
What is going on there? 4 wins and 3 draws in their last 7, 3 points.
What happened to ASAP Rocky? Because that was like
that's a different podcast, right? No, it is. Yeah,
but because that was like a big story in April, May, and then I looked online this morning. There's just nothing on the internet about the takeover since.
Right.
So, Tranmere fans, what's going on? Like, he's still being taken over by a bunch of A-listers. Something has to change, because right now they are one of the worst teams in the league. And Andy Crosby, who made such a good start to life as their manager, who similarly made a good start to life as Port Vale manager before it really spiraled. It feels like it's spiraling again now, and little evidence to suggest that there is a turnaround incoming. Currently 19th, and with Crawley beneath them, definitely improving, with Cheltenham beneath them, quite clearly onto something with Steve Cotterill. As I mentioned, I'm not writing off Newport. Shrewsbury winning last weekend. They're in a bit of trouble if they don't buck up their ideas.
Yeah, I'm enjoying seeing, because Barnet actually signed a lot of players over the summer, probably more than I would have expected coming up from the National League, where generally your core will take you quite far. And it kind of feels like, there's probably 3 or 4 starters now who are new signings: Offerball and Senior and Critchlow and Slicker. But I feel like we're getting to know the old guard that took them up as well. Tavares, as you mentioned, Collinge, Hartigan, Stead, Glover, Canu, Unlove. And I'm enjoying it. The Senior goal, I don't know if that was a second phase of a set piece or something, but it was a cross from Collinge, who's the centre-back, and it was a header from the right-back on the penalty spot. Loved it.
Just liquid.
Yeah, I think it is just liquid. Open play liquid. Fleetwood beat Harrogate 3-2. Very lively, topsy-turvy game here. Some pretty ropey defending all round, basically. Burrell put Harrogate ahead. Nice ball in from the right, but Fleetwood's defence nowhere. And he slid in at 1-0. Harrogate had chance after chance in the first half. They had Fleetwood on the ropes. McElhenney, Muldoon, Smith, all going close. And you just thought, could they live to regret these? And the answer, as it always is yes. Will Davis turning water into wine, running onto a ball over the top that didn't look that dangerous, getting there in front of NTT 20's James Belshaw to finish. It was 1-1 at half-time, and you think Fleetwood will come out strong, no doubt, at home to Harrogate. But no, Harrogate 2, Fleetwood 1. Muldoon with the goal, and a nice goal it was too. Just played through him, moved it out wide, cross in. Muldoon picking up scraps in the box to smash in. Could Harrogate go on and win it? No, they lost it. Elliot Bonds firing home from inside the box. And then what can only be described as a communication error between Anthony O'Connor and NTT 20's James Belshaw saw Fleetwood attacker nip the ball round James and square it for Ryan Graydon for 3-2. Really tough watch from a Harrogate point of view because they've played well here. They've played well and they've lost, and that's annoying. They lost on Sky against Crewe last Monday. That would have been annoying as well. Crewe were, in the end, pretty good for it, you have to say. But yeah, 2 defeats in a row since James's appearance as a guest host, which is tough, really tough. A couple of 1-1s as well. Gillingham 1, Cheltenham 1. Cotterill almost made it back-to-back. 95th minute equaliser. Good game, I think. Cheltenham and Gills both having chances at 0-0. Seb Palmer-Holden looking bright. I had high hopes for him when he signed for Gills, and he put in the sort of performance that I was expecting to see more of, which bodes well. But also Ethan Archer and Isaac Hutchinson for Cheltenham just give them a lot of quality in attacking midfield areas. Hutchinson, left foot, weaker foot, off the bar from 20 yards, straight onto the head of Sherring, who headed in. Great to see such energy and joy in the celebrations. This Cheltenham team and fan base have been lacking energy for so long, but they look genuinely energised. Of course, that doesn't last forever. There has to be foundation behind it. Looks like there is at the moment. They did really well up until injury time, where 2 blocked shots, a miscue, a slice, a whatnot. Elliot Nevitt with a really, really good clean strike in amongst the chaos to equalise. Only his 5th goal in the league for Gills. 3,500 minutes since joining last season, but this was a big one to make sure that it wasn't 3 defeats in a row, which it would have been had they lost it. Gareth Ainsworth, as per his assistant Dobbo, operation went well, heart operation he had, and in high spirits was the line that was quoted to me on 5 Live on Saturday, and I was like, that's nothing new. I've never known him to not be in high spirits, whatever the case. So yeah, we wish Gareth well in his recovery, and I think we'll be seeing him back in the dugout soon. Crawley drew 1-1 with Walsall. Had quite a funny missed penalty here.
Yeah.
McCurdy with a I was going to say a weird run up, but it wasn't a run up. He just took 1 step and then just sort of dribbled it at the keeper.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It looks good if the keeper goes the wrong way. It looks class.
It's always, yeah. I mean,
keeper went the right way and saved it.
There's nothing with more outcome bias baked in than people's assessment penalties. Like, it's basically, if it's gone in, it's a penalty. If it and it's the same pen. I'm a little bit worried about Walsall.
Oh, here we go.
I know my time with them, but it's just, it feels like the results are similar to this time last year, but the performances aren't. Like, they were, the possession stats the same. Their chance creation is still very good, albeit nowhere near as good as it was this time last year. But also they are conceding chances. And then when they were good last year, they weren't really conceding many chances, at least not big chances. Like here, Crawley definitely had the better of the opportunities. The good thing for Walsall is that their next 3 games in the league, Barrow at home, Cheltenham away, Newport away. So
no easy games at this level, mate.
Wow, they're easy ones and other ones. And they've also got Harrogate to follow after a difficult game at home to Colchester. So like if I am right, and if they aren't playing that well, it's probably quite a good run of games to improve, and I think they probably will. But yeah, I'm not as sold right now on them as I was a year or so ago, despite topping the league.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, a great assist for McCurdy. Having said, having laughed at his missed pen, it was a hell of an assist for Loft to convert. Nice attacking play from Crawley. And the equaliser was a lovely solo goal, wasn't it, from Connor Barrett. McCurdy went close. Loft had one off the line. Great block from Weir. to rescue the point for Walsall. Of course, up top for Walsall, Daniel Cano, the EA Sports FC EFL Young Player of the Month for
Love it.
September, and interviewed by yours truly. Incredibly truthful on the pod. He was one of my favourite interviews in a long time. From the very first time he opened his mouth, I just celebrated, because you just get that when you interview people.
Yeah.
The first answer you can normally tell, like, oh yeah. I don't have to do much work here. Just let him fly. So do make sure you go back and listen to that. That's the last episode on the feed. A really enjoyable discussion with a really interesting young man, and someone who seems to be quite the goal scorer. And Oldham 0, Barrow 0. The only televised game this weekend. Well, the only featured televised game this weekend. They were all televised.
Oldham.
And it was a match that happened.
What are we going to do with you?
What are we going to do with them?
Well, they've just got to find a way to put the ball in the back of the net, haven't they?
Well, I thought Michael Mellon was the way to put the ball in the back of the net, but then he hit the post and he had one saved, and it was all a bit frustrating.
They've drawn like 7 games this season, I think. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And they've basically been the best team in all their draws. Maybe apart from 1 or 2. The Barnet one was quite tight.
Well, instead of, what we're going to do with you, Oldham,
why
don't you reframe it as like,
wow, they're going to
early on in the season, a team that's drawing loads of games where they're clearly the better side is probably going to have a really good run.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because they went up in the betting show. That's why.
Speaking with your wallet.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to Sky Bet for sponsoring this podcast and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. Lots to look forward to on that front between now and the end of the year in particular. And we are also doing an England pod Tuesday night after the Latvia game. If England win, they qualify for the World Cup in the US. If you're listening to this in time to make it to the Volley, which is an incredible football watching bar in Old Street, London, come watch the game with us. It's an England pod meetup, but NTT20, England pod, potato. That's what I say. So do come down and join us. It'd be great to see you there. Thank you, and go well.